In part 1, we covered the materials you'll need to start creating your own webbing projects. Here in part 2, we'll go over the tools required, and we'll try to spend the least amount of money possible, because I'm a proponent of what some call Yankee thrift, or what others call being a goddamn cheapskate. The first thing you'll need access to is a sewing machine. Option 1, if you're a design student and your school has a fashion program, talk your way into the sewing lab. Option 2, borrow a sewing machine from somebody you know. Option 3, get yourself a cheap, used, domestic sewing machine, preferably an all-metal one. The market is flooded with them. Sewing is a dying art, so you can find good machines in a thrift shop or on Craigslist for like $10 to $50, and sometimes even for free on FreeCycle. You'll want to avoid eBay, because sewing machines packaged by amateurs often don't survive the shipping process. Once you've got access to a machine, then you can figure out what kind of needles to get. With sewing machine needles, there are 3 variables you need to know. The first is called the needle system, a series of numbers or letters that indicate needle-to-machine compatibility. For example, a lot of these old singers take the needle system known as 15x1, which is known as 130/705 in Europe, or HA/1 in Asia. Your sewing machine will only work with the needle system it was designed for. The second variable is needle size. For our purposes, you're going to buy size 18 needles if you're in America, which corresponds with needle size 110 in Europe and Asia. Lastly, needles come with different types of points. Don't buy what's known as a BP or ballpoint needle. The best point for our webbing application will be labeled jeans, denim, sharp, or microtex. Second best would be the default needle point, which is called universal but often unlabeled. In any case, it shouldn't cost you more than $6 or $7 for a 10-pack. Thread. Get size 69 thread, also called V69 thread. Nylon is fine for indoors. Polyester is better for outdoors since it's got better UV resistance. Prices vary widely online, but you should be able to get a 4-ounce cone like this for around $5. For the sake of practice, buy a thread color that contrasts with the material you'll use so that you can see the stitching. Once you go pro, you can match it up. Thread stand. This is just a simple base with an overhead hook. For our purposes, the thread needs to feed off the top of the spool before making its way to the machine. If you try to feed the thread directly off of the top of the machine, you're going to run into problems because of how the thread twists. These thread stands are only a couple of bucks, but if you're an industrial design student, you should be able to make something like this out of wood cutoffs and a coat hanger in less than an hour. If you can't, you should be ashamed of yourself. You're a disgrace. Get out of my sight. A lighter. This will come in handy if you ever decide to take up smoking, but more importantly, if you're working with polypropylene webbing, you can use it to seal the ends, which I'll show you how to do later on. Lastly, you'll need this thing, a stitch ripper, because you are going to make mistakes and you will need to undo them. For some applications you can get away with using an X-Acto knife, but you'll find the stitch ripper more convenient and safer. If you spend more than $4 on this thing, you're an idiot. By the way, while this is called a stitch ripper in America, I understand that you British people call it an unpicker, which just sounds weird, but you know, you guys invented the language, I'm sure you know what you're doing. In the next episode, we'll finally start laying down some stitches. I'm Ray No for Course 77 TV. Thanks for watching. Do I have to keep saying thanks for watching at the end of these things? Because I'm doing them a favor. They should be thanking me.